So I just finished my latest audiobook. I love Audible. Like, that's like one of my favorite services that I subscribe to. And I find books, I put them in my wish list, I download them, and then as I listen to them, I add more. I came across Doug Casey about a year ago, and I found him on maybe his like second or third podcast that he does on YouTube with a gentleman named Matt Smith. And I don't know what the subject matter was on, but it was things I'm interested in, like anarcho-capitalism, conversations about what's going on. I mean, just in general, like, really cool to be a fly on the wall and listen to these guys. I'll link to their YouTube channel. Amazing guys. I would love to meet them in person at some point in time. And so through that, I found out that Doug Casey was an author. Matt, his co-host, actually had read him and then met him randomly in Argentina, which is pretty cool. And actually developed like a mentorship with him, and they do this podcast together. So through this, I found out, Doug Casey's a best-selling author from the 70s. He wrote a book called Crisis Investing. I'm actually trying to get my hands on a physical copy of it now because it's been out of print for a little bit. He had a company called Casey Research, which he sold. And I've actually, when I found his podcast, I was like, oh, I know this guy, because I'd seen him with Jeff Berdwick and a few other characters that I follow. That's the Dollar Vigilante. I've been following him since like 2011. Kind of like that, sort of the Peter Schiff crap. I hate to say Peter Schiff at this point in time, because Peter Schiff is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Austrian economist that's alive at this moment in time. And Austrian School of Economics is the school of economics that I subscribe to. And so when I found Doug Casey, I was like, oh, he's talking a lot about Austrian ideas, and he talked about Mises and Rothbard and eventually a little bit of Hayek here and there. And I was like, okay, yeah, he's well versed in the school of Austrian economics. Ayn Rand, I mean, all those famous authors. So I picked up his book, and the first book in his series, he wrote a fictional series, which I found interesting because I don't do a lot of fiction. I'm like a business book kind of guy, or like it needs to have practical application. But lately I've really appreciated what you can put into fiction that you can't really just say out loud, if you know what I'm saying. And his first book was called Speculator. And he's got his main character in there, Charles Knight, as a young kid who saves up 10 grand, buys a gold mining company, shares in a gold mining company, travels to Africa to do his due diligence and research, and ends up really striking it rich. Government ultimately steals it from him. Fabulous book. I'll link to that. Don't want to give anything away there, because what I found interesting in that book was that Doug had put in his philosophy, his I hate to say libertarian, but his ideas, his free market ideas that he's built upon, and he's used fiction as a way to push this philosophy in a very entertaining, I mean, you can't put it down or turn it off, reads. I mean, they are like incredible. So I picked up the second book in his series, which was an audiobook. You can get it in actual print, but I did the audiobook because I'm driving around, and it's just a fast way to go through books for me. And it was called Drug Lord, and it's where Charles Knight now has a new endeavor, and he's dealing drugs to an extent, or to a big extent, Drug Lord. And it was just so well done how he put together his philosophy into this character. And if you've ever had the privilege of reading Ayn Rand, particularly Atlas Shrugged, there is a scene, and there are two scenes in that book that really stick out to me, and they're worth reading, even just reading by themselves. And that would be Hank Rearden's moment in court, where he literally tells the jury at the time, or the court, or whoever it is, the officials, I don't recognize your laws. And then Ayn Rand uses that opportunity to promote, teach her philosophical ideology through Hank Rearden's speech. And Hank Rearden is this amazing, steel mill owner, entrepreneur, built himself from nothing type of really awesome character. And then in that book, there's another speech by a character named Francisco, where he has Francisco's money speech. You may have heard money is the root of all evil, or a evil. It depends on how you want to debate it. She just rips that apart in this fabulous speech, and that is worth reading just by itself. Doug Casey did something very similar with his character in Charles Knight. And I won't give away too much of this thing, but I highly recommend. I'm going to link to the books. There's going to be affiliate links. It'll help support Doug. It'll also support this channel. It'll introduce you to Doug's content. I'm going to link to his YouTube stuff because I think you really need to be watching Doug and Matt Smith's YouTube series. It's fabulous. It's incredible. And then particularly these books. And I know I can't wait to start his next one in the series. I think he said the series will be six total books, but I'll be on my third book starting this afternoon. And I guess to wrap this, at the very end of the book, which just cements in my mind that Doug Casey is an absolute legend, probably the best thing that we have, living version of an Ayn Rand-like thinker of our time, in this Doug Casey character. He's a cool guy. I mean, you can even see video footage of him in the 70s on a famous TV show. It'll come to me right after this. It was basically the Oprah show at the time. You'll put it in the comments. I'll be like, oh yes, that one. He was on that show, and that was like after his first famous book, The Crisis Investing, and he talks about taxes and the I mean, just blowing the audience's mind with his ideas, but they're not really that crazy of ideas. It's just that our norm and our culture is so lost. But to wrap this, he gives credit or recognition, or dedicates rather, the end of his book to Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, and Ross Halbert of Silk Road. When I read that, like the dedication to the book at the end of the book, I was just like, that's amazing. Like it's one of the best things that you could do to promote the ideas of liberty, is to do what Doug has done in this fictional series, and to stuff really good, wholesome philosophy that will help you find success in your life, no question about it, but to package it in a very digestible manner that is digestible for anybody, in an entertaining I mean, he's done a freaking great job. And so, short video for today. Check out Doug. Check out, if nothing else, subscribe to his YouTube channel. And if anything furthermore, I would start with Speculator, because I thought originally I would skip around, and I'm so glad that I didn't skip book number 2, Drug Lord, because I was just going to move right on to his third book because I was really interested in this title. But I was like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this properly. And I'm glad that I've followed this character, Charles Knight, and it's really been, it's like, we think nothing of binge watching a series on Netflix, but we don't often go through a good fictional series. And this fictional series has just been freaking awesome. So I can't promote it enough. Anyway, check it out. Check out the links. And if you choose to purchase the book through there, it supports the channel. I appreciate that. It helps provide a little bit of revenue. Maybe at some point in time, I'll up the amount of videos, hire an editor or something like that, and be able to put out more content through that source of revenue. So I appreciate you guys. Have a good one.